Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we're gonna start with a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you for giving us an opportunity to be together again, and may you guide us all of today's program. Amen. Our topic today is influential men and sexism. This topic is basically a question from yesterday's opening class that okay, as I was saying, our topic is basically a continuation from where Lindelo left off yesterday. She was talking about everyday sexism, how women have been facing sexism every day. And I'm saying this topic is basically a repeat and an enlargement of that. I'm gonna start off by saying this, it's been a rough couple of months just watching how sexism, how people act like sexism is not even a problem. Like it's not even there. Sexism is just normal. Okay, I'll just make you an example. People, the N-word is actually frowned upon. When you say an N-word, it's a big deal. Everybody knows about racism. But the B word, everybody uses it like it's normal. There's no problem with the B word. This shows you that sexism is not even an issue for most of the people on earth. They just gaslight it like it's nothing. I'm just gonna take out a number of influential men that have shown the point that I'm trying to make here. I'm gonna start by comedians. I've always appreciated comedians because they have this ability to send a message, a comedic message, in a comedic manner. They have a way of sending a message in a comedic manner. So what I'm saying is that in every joke, there is an underlying message. But this past couple of months have actually showed me that the message is that comedians are sexist. Most of them are sexist. I'm gonna start by the man that most people consider to be the greatest of all time, Dave Chappelle. I'm never gonna repeat the words that Dave Chappelle said about Candace Owens because that's where you actually see his sexism. Just I think it was last week, his show got cancelled for his transphobic views. And what he did after that is in his rant, he actually said monkeypox is a gay disease, showing his homophobia, to his sexism and his transphobia. The man just keeps ranting and ranting. And then I'm not going to exclude South Africa's favorite son just because we like him, Trevor Noah. There was this one time I was scrolling through the channels, and then I saw a Trevor Noah stand up, and I thought to myself, I'm safe here. It's Trevor. And my heart sank when I had to make a joke about choking a woman. I couldn't believe it because I didn't expect that from him. And then I don't know if you guys remember the gala, the president's gala that he hosted. And Trevor was I don't know if he was but he made a speech. In his speech, he actually continued the Chris Rock joke from the Oscars, he actually said if he were to say something about Kellyanne Conway's okay, if he were to say something about Kellyanne Conway, her husband will actually thank her. For him to actually perpetuate that joke that was so bad, that very sexist joke, and then he actually said something else about Jill Biden, the first lady. He said, I know that his point was that Jill Biden, can you guys hear me? I keep seeing messages. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes. Yes, on my side I can hear.
Yes. Oh, okay. He made a joke about Jill Biden. She didn't stop being a teacher when she became the first lady. She continued her profession, and he said she should have voted for Bernie. I get that he was trying to make a joke about maybe if she voted for Bernie, she wouldn't be she would have paid off her student debts because Bernie was for like taking away the student debt. I get that, but in a world where women are told where they belong, and it's not in the workplace, and it's in the kitchen, I don't find jokes like that funny anymore. They are just not funny. To say Jill Biden is just still working because she doesn't have a choice, she has to pay off her student debt. So when I'm looking at that joke from the lens of sexism, I don't find it funny. Okay. I'm gonna end on the comedians with the last one, but not least, Chris Rock. I'm ashamed to say I have seen Chris Rock stand-ups more than any other comedians in this world. I ask myself, like, what possessed me? Like, how could I not see his sexism? Because the man has always been sexist. If I think back to all of his jokes, just take the 2016 joke he made about Rihanna. No, he was actually making a joke about Jada and Will, and he said when they boycotted the Oscars, I don't know if you guys, they boycotted the Oscars because it doesn't matter. But he said Jada and Will is like him. Jada and Will boycotting the Oscars is like him. Being not invited in Rihanna's panties, something like that, because he's not invited. That joke is sexist. It's not even funny. And then the big one, the Oscars joke. People have tried left, right, and center to defend him and say he was trying to empower Jada. He was not. He most certainly was not. Because if you listen to him, he said, Jada, I love you. And then he said, but. To me, it's not even about the fact that Jada has an illness. It's about the fact that when Chris Rock sees a bald woman, he thinks that that's not normal. It's not every day that you see a bald woman, a woman with short hair. To him, women should be a certain way. And he makes a joke out of a bald woman. And that joke, even to this day, we are still seeing the repercussions of that joke. Just yesterday, Will Smith had to apologize for that joke. After that joke, Will Smith is the one been getting slack left, right, and center. Everybody blamed Will Smith for that joke. Not just Will Smith, because the world is sexist. Most men actually blame Jada. They said she is the one who is manipulating world to actually behave this way. And then they made Chris Rock looks like he was a hero of the whole situation when he is the actual person who started the whole thing. That joke actually showed me just how big, just how lightly people take misogyny. Because if you go on social media and you look at what people say about the whole fiasco, people will tell you that Chris Rock was just doing his job. Will Smith took it too far. Will Smith should have just, yeah. And then the thousands and thousands that blame Jada for the whole thing. Misogyny is alive and well, people. Okay. Now I'm gonna talk about Johnny Depp. I grew up, okay, I'm a mid-80s child. Growing up, there were 4 men that were on covers of every magazine. And that was Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio, and last but not least, Johnny Depp. These men were once voted the sexiest male alive on numerous magazines, mostly People magazine. They had a huge following. They had a huge fan base. You know, men wanted to be them and women wanted to be with them. You are meant to feel lucky for having been with them. You know, when the whole case actually started, the Deb head case, Deb versus her case started, I didn't expect it for it to blow out like it did. But as week on week, I kept saying just how that case was like we've studied the theory on the Vespers with Elder Tess. She's taught us like how things work. And then to actually see the case, it was like watching the practical of what she had already taught us. Because I saw everything that Elder Tess taught us on that case. I'm gonna share, okay, because I don't think I know how to screen share. I'm just gonna send it on via Zoom. This part of the Vespers. Okay, just give me a minute. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This part of the Vespers. When she was speaking about the 4 horsemen, and then there was this line that she used to draw that used to show the left wing and the right wing, and she will show us that Roy Den Hollinger was on the far right, and then she said the
Kanya,
hello.
Sorry
Hello?
to disturb you. Sorry to disturb you. D, there are people in the waiting room. Please, may you admit them in?
I've been admitting Siwe several times. I think the problem is on her side.
Okay.
Okay, as I was saying, that the Vespers, it seemed like the Vespers were the theory, and then the case was the practical. And I sent that screenshot of the Vespers. The point that I'm trying to make is that in that case, we saw everything that Elder Tess had been teaching us. Okay. She said that we needn't focus too much on the likes of Reut and Hollinger. We should focus on the middle, because that is where the problem is. That is where most people are. What most people believe, that is where the problem is. And this case actually showed us that your everyday people, your everyday citizens, where they stand when it comes to sexism or misogyny. Because it was everyday people who were doing videos on TikTok. It was people who were commenting on Twitter. It was, yeah, people all over social media who were bashing Amber, who dehumanized her. Oh, you know, guys, I've been a victim of bullying. I remember it happened while I was still in school. And I remember that the next day, I wouldn't want to go to school. Not just the next day, maybe the whole month. When it happened, I wouldn't want to go to school. To be Amber Heard in this like last couple of months, the woman has been like humiliated all over the world. People are mocking her all over the world. I wonder how it must feel to be her, guys. And she keeps going even after everything that's been happening to her. Okay, let me take it back to saying that this case, as we all know, it's a backlash to Me Too. It is amazing how people can actually see when they look at Russia and Ukraine. Okay, I'm talking about the hot war. They can see who the aggressor is. They can tell you that Russia is the aggressor. Ukraine is only fighting back. But when they look at Amber Heard, they think that Amber is the aggressor and Johnny Depp is the victim. They can't see that whatever else happened, she was only retaliating. The world that can clearly see who the aggressor is between Russia and Ukraine, can't see who the victim is and who the aggressor is between Amber and Johnny Depp. Okay. Remember what I said about Johnny having a global following. This case also showed us just how dangerous internalized misogyny really is. And it's big, guys. It's like women were attacking him. And a number of women all over social media are attacking him. They actually are blaming her for this whole thing. They are blaming her for the death of Me Too. Okay. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to listen to any of the recordings. I remember I had one in which Johnny was yelling at Amber. He said, "Don't you use that authoritative tone on me, Amber." And in another, he said, "You don't exist, Amber. You don't exist." In those two videos, for me, it was clear to see who the aggressor was in the relationship. Remember, he is 23 years older than she is. And you had Johnny Depp's stands, or as they call themselves, or as they're called. Amber was just facing, she was facing the whole culture. She was facing the men's rights activists who have been waiting to find their way back to actually change the narrative that was changed by the Me Too movement. And you have, the men's rights activists. And What do you guys think it means when they say Amber is not a perfect victim? If I may ask, what do you guys think it means when they say she's not a perfect victim? I'm asking you guys, what do you guys think it means when they say she's not a perfect victim? Anyone with an answer? Okay, I'm just gonna tell you what I think. There's cultural feminism, there's liberal feminism, and then there's radical feminism. Cultural feminism actually promotes gender roles, where women should be, how they should act, how they're supposed to, how they just have been, they should remain that way. And then there's liberal feminism, which promotes women being free to do whatever they like with their bodies, or them actually keeping their personal private. They can be feminist, but they can keep their personal private. And then you have Amber Heard. She is like a poster girl of a woman who actually fights back, who is not going to be boxed, who is not going to be told that you are supposed to behave this way because you're a woman. Like I said, Amber, it was just facing the wrath of the culture, like how women are supposed to be. Remember the story that Elders has told of the Australian woman whose baby was eaten by deer. She said to this day, people still blame her for her baby being taken by a deer, because those people expect women to behave in a certain manner. They still blame her. How did she not see? How was she not there? What kind of a mother is she? They still blame her for the deer taking her baby. And then you remember Kate McCann, I think it's Kate McCann, Madeleine McCann's mom. When Madeleine went missing, people blame the mother. They always blame the woman. That in both cases, that's cultural feminism. Sadly, that's the one that the Pope advocates for, and that's the one even the SDA advocates for. And then you have Amber over here, Amber Heard, who is just facing it head on. And Amber is actually everything that men hate. She is everything that they can't stand. The fact that women are not scared to actually speak out. That's why she faced. It's like they were waiting for a chance to actually get back on setting the narrative on abuse, on rape allegations, on the whole culture war. And they used this case to the max. They used everything in the book to undermine her, to undermine her testimony, to just gaslight everything. As I said, this case was like watching a practical of the Vespers, because you remember what Elders has taught us about the four horsemen, how they believe in women, men's strength, intrinsic strength, and women's ability to manipulate, to deceive, to not just nurture, to deceive and to I just want to underline those two, to deceive and manipulate.
Hello.
And hello.
Yes.
Yes.
My hand has been raised.
Oh.
I wanted to cement the point. I mean, I wanted to cement, the topic as you are repeating and enlarging on it. To say, the way I've seen things, it's like the world is not ready to listen to a woman's side of a story. That's the bottom line. The world is not ready to hear us. And okay, I can see the world. Yeah, that's when it's obvious. What pains me is when people within this movement are still questioning how we are treating
Oh, Nambuso. Nambuso. Nambuso.
we tried. Yes. Speak,
You
I
were
hear you.
breaking. You were breaking. We
breaking.
couldn't hear you. You were
Oh,
breaking. Can you repeat your point again? Nambuso, are you still there? It seems we have lost Nambuso. Hello?
excuse me, but the point, don't hear me now. No, it's fine. I'll raise my point.
Okay.
You can continue.
All right. Thank you.
But we can hear her now.
Okay. Go on, Nambuso. Oh, she's back to again.
You still hear me? Am I still audible? Can you?
Now you're audible.
Okay. I was saying,
Nambuso, what's up?
I was trying to, to cement. Oh, this is so frustrating.
I hear you when you're not making a point. As soon as you begin your point, you disappear.
All right.
My goodness. What I was trying to say is, I think the world is not ready to listen to a woman's point of side of a story. Did you get that? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Yeah. Bottom line, whatever narration I'm gonna come up with, my point is the world is not ready to hear a woman's side of a story. Thank you.
Thank you. I think from what you said, I can add that the world expects women to behave in a certain manner. They say Amber Heard is not a perfect victim because she doesn't behave like a cultural feminist. That's a perfect victim. A perfect victim that does not fight back. She doesn't speak back. She doesn't. She is a weak woman. Remember the intrinsic strengths and weaknesses that the four horsemen spoke about. Downism, all of that. That's their perfect victim. That's how women are supposed to be. And when you are not that, sympathy goes out the window for you. I want to share the screen with you. This is what one of the jurors, okay, this is what an anonymous juror said about the case. After the case ended, the verdict was out, and then this is what the juror said about Amber Heard, just to make my point. He said that the crying, the facial expressions that she had, the staring at the jury, all of us were uncomfortable. She would answer one question and she would be crying 2 seconds later. She would turn ice cold. Some of us use the expression crocodile tears. If you read that, you see that it was about how she made them feel. The facts, the evidence, the stack of evidence against Johnny Depp, it didn't matter. how she made them feel mattered to them more than the evidence that was there. People actually know that Johnny Depp once sent an SMS that read something like, I would burn her corpse and do things to her, I would burn her body and do things to her corpse just to see if she's really dead. And he made fun of that. And then people turn around and tell you that Amber Heard is the aggressor in this whole thing. The point that I'm trying to make is that people expect women to behave in a certain way. And if you don't, you are going to face the culture because you are not behaving the way they expect you to behave. You're not behaving like a woman because a woman is supposed to be weak. Women are meant to be weak. This point actually hits home for me because after looking at all of this, I was talking to my sister and I'm like, when we were talking to people about what happened to us, my sister and I, did they expect us to cry? Like this message, guys, there's something about this message that has made me stronger. Like I cry less and less every day. Like I almost never cry because I think I'm stronger. I can face the world now. So I said to my sister, if you and I were crying when we were telling our story, do you think it would have been different? I know it would have been. I know. Because people sympathize with a weak woman, not a strong woman who can actually say, okay, you did this to me. I'm going to tell you to your face, this is what you did to me. And I'm going to make you pay for that. They can't stand that. Because men always have to be on the top of, they just want men to always be on top. I'm sure I'm going to miss some of the points that I wanted to make about this whole thing. But I have to move on and bring it home. I have to bring it back to South Africa before I close. Because when it comes to this country, we are being, it's shocking really. We are being trolled. Women are being trolled by a bunch of keyboard warriors because they hide behind the keyboard. I'm just going to mention 3 influencers on Twitter. There is the most notorious one. He goes by the name of Chris Axel. He is the most toxic of them all. He is a self-proclaimed catfish. I'm going to share his handle with you guys and you're going to see his face. This is him. He uses a face of a woman, a profile of a woman, and she has tried time and time again to ask him to stop using her face. He refuses because he thinks they call him the president of Twitter. That's the sad part. They call him the president of Twitter. In South Africa, let's just, we can't compare this country to the rest of the world because it's nothing to have like 20 million followers in America. To have 1 million followers on Twitter in South Africa is huge. And that guy has them, over 1 million followers. And the guy, how he rose to fame is by making fun of women. He actually, okay, let me just give you an example of what he did this year. When Minnie Dlamini got divorced, he actually compared her to a stock option. He said she is coming back as a return soldier. Her market value has now dropped. She is going to be fighting. She has a kid now. So now she's going to be fighting with the likes of Sisti Neoranaka. Do you see what he's doing there? He is comparing her to she's a return soldier. Her value is down now. And he didn't just make fun of Minnie Dlamini there. He actually included Dineo Ranaka on that attack. And then he didn't just stop with Minnie. he actually, all right, News 24 actually wrote an article about Chris Exel, about that, what he said about Mindy Lambi. And when they pointed out that he's toxic and he shouldn't have done that, the man is so manipulative in a way that he actually turned the story on them. He got his followers to actually make fun of News 24. He said there must be no news for News 24 to make this a thing, because for him, sexism is nothing. Just making fun of women is just part of life. He didn't just stop with Minnie. He actually made fun of Bonang. He made fun of Tando Tabete. He made fun of just in April, he posted a photo of Dineo, okay, a woman carrying three kids. And he put Dineo's face, Dineo Ranaka's face. He knows exactly what he was doing with that, what he meant with that photo. He has made a name for himself out of making fun of women, out of pushing misogyny. And what has been said for me is to see the point that Elliot has made in the Vespers, that the real problem lies in the middle, right in the middle, where everyone is South African men. They worship Chris Exel. They worship Johnny Depp. They worship everything because these men stand for what they believe. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, these men stand for what they believe. These men have a platform. They're using the platform to actually push their sexism, and all their followers agree with them because they actually believe the same thing. And then there's another one by the name of, I'm not done with Chris Exel, yes. When he was actually, his identity was revealed by a girl by the name of Sam Gay. He actually turned it all on her, and he revealed the most damning things about her. And then he made her, after people actually thanked Sam Gay for revealing who he actually is. They actually sent her money. They sent her money for revealing who he is. They were thanking her because the man has terrorized women all over social media. I'm saying the man is so toxic and manipulative because he turned the story around. Because there was round one, Samge clearly won that round because he revealed who he is and everything. And then he got Samge's ex-boyfriend to tell him things about Samge, and then he revealed on these things on social media. And then Samge knew that the only person who knew this information was her ex-boyfriend. Now the fight was between Samge and her ex-boyfriend, and then Chris Exel just folded his arms and just watched the whole thing. And then people were praising. They were like so happy. Look at Chris Exel. You all thought he was down and out. And see who the real winner is. People were actually so happy. The people's president had won again. And then there's the one that goes by the name of Mr. Smack. All these people are on Twitter. Mr. Smack, his real name is Michael Butwa. I think it's Butwa, Bukwa, I don't know. His sexism is different because he will come with, he just post a post and he will say, Paltos is beautiful. And people will like and comment. And then the next day, oh, it is beautiful. And then the next day, like whoever, the girls, all girls all the time. So and so is beautiful. Zinta is beautiful. And people actually can't tell that there's something wrong with this man. He is using, okay, let me give me a little bit of a background on who he is. Mr. Smack rose to fame by using the Smack titles on all his social media. And then he became famous. And then he actually gained advertising. He's advertising for BMW. He has actually made it. Yeah, but then he used his fame for doing sexist things, like always reducing women to their how they look. Not just a couple of years ago, Bonang got a deal with Nivea. Bonang Matem, she got a deal with Nivea, and then he said Nivea is not beautiful. We all know who just got a deal with Nivea. It was Bonang. What he was saying is that Bonang is not beautiful. So he is like giving himself power to say he is the one who can say who is beautiful, who's not beautiful. He's pitting women against each other. And I knew that there was something wrong with this man long before he actually started saying Nivea is not beautiful. That, by the way, meant Bonang is not beautiful. I knew there was something wrong with this man. And he confirmed my what I thought of him when he said, when Chris Axel, the first one, when he was in Hot Water, he was the first one who said, Chris Axel is the best influencer in all of South Africa. He defended the man who is the most toxic man I've ever encountered in South African, in social media in South Africa. Everyone with a brain can see that man is sexist, he's toxic, he's all the wrong things that you can actually think of. Chris Axel. And then this Mr. Smith is sexist as well. Birds of the same feather. And the first one to actually do this, he used to go by the Twitter handle, Mr. Handsome. Mr. Handsome, he called himself Mr. Handsome. He rose to prominence by ridiculing South African female celebs. He went out after Bochi. He said she's not married and she's past marriageable age, things like that. And the next day, he will go after another one. Like, the whole point of women was to get married. The whole point of being a woman was to get married. And it's not even about these three men for me. It's about the masses that actually agrees with them. That's the setback. The masses, the people in the middle, your everyday people that actually agrees with these people. So for me, the last couple of months have been showing me what Elder Tess has presented, that the problem is culture. What people believe, people's mindsets, that is the problem. I'm sure I left out a lot of things, but I just want to share. Okay, I'm gonna go back now because I wanted to show how Davo was used to win the Depp versus Head case. I think I'm almost out of time, so I'm just gonna show you guys that you have to read this article. I'm gonna share an article that I think you guys need to read on Davo. I know Gracious has presented about Davo, and the point that I want to make the most is that the person who actually coined the term Davo, the person who actually made Davo as you know it, she said Johnny Depp used Davo to win the case. When the person who actually created the whole thing, who invented, so to speak, actually saying Johnny Depp used Davo to win the case. What more do you need? I think the biggest problem for me with this case is that the only law that I know is commercial law. That's the only law I studied. So I didn't know how some cases are tried by a jury and some are tried by a judge. I think the biggest mistake of them all is to look, Johnny Depp know exactly what he was doing when he wanted a jury to decide that case, because he knew that he had a huge following, and it was him who wanted the cameras. Okay, the judge ordered the cameras. He was for the cameras. Amber was against the cameras. He knew that people are going to be on his side. He read the room. Let me just say that him and his lawyers, they read the room they saw how men were easily going to be on his side. And then with his huge following, like I said, he had a huge fan base. His fans were always going to be on his side. He just knew what to do. I think the only mistake I think Heads Camp did was to underestimate just how big of a role the public was going to play in the whole case. Because that case was mostly won on public opinion. You can't tell me that the jury didn't go back to their homes and check what the everybody was saying on social media. You can't tell me that. You cannot be sure that they really did not know what was happening outside. What people were saying, a billion views on TikTok, people who agreed with Johnny Depp, people all over social media who agreed with Johnny Depp. You cannot tell me that those people didn't know what was going on. And then, like I said, whether a member of the jury was religious, we can all see that religion promotes cultural feminism, and then atheism promotes Darwinism. So Amber had no chance. So that's what I'm saying. Her camp misread the room when it comes to how powerful the role the public were going to play in this whole thing. I think I'm just going to end there. If anyone wants to add. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. You once asked a question about Amber, that her being a victim is not a perfect victim. We can also look at it, with some of the things that have been mentioned before in some other studies, where we're saying with victimization, there is the issue of you are blamed somewhere. To say also, if you didn't behave this way, this wouldn't have happened. It's almost something like that. So here they are looking at, like you said, how she's responding to the whole matter, because there's radical feminism side which she is showing, and they want her to respond in a certain way, like liberally or culturally, and she's not doing that. It's just the same with when victims are actually blamed for the wrong that has been done to them. Like there's always, like when women comes out, they are always questionable. They are always questioned. They are always like, they are not believed. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And what's painful the most is like, even to the people who have received the right message on how to respond when an abuse case is before them, we still find people in this movement responding like people in the world who have no truth, or who have not understood what we are learning. So it's really heartbreaking. It's disturbing, because our movement is like a refuge to those who are being oppressed. And if people are not finding refuge where they're supposed to, which means we are failing each other, which means we are failing the test. And this, I'll repeat it again. The sad thing is those people who are questioning how the cases are being handled, they are the same people. You know what, actually the thought just disappeared. But anyway, I just wanted to just highlight that it said that what's happening outside, we are seeing it even in the movement where this truth is, where we are being taught to change our mindset, and people are still holding on to these ideologies of cultural feminism. So
Yeah.
I think it's high time, and looking at the fact that we'll be having Levites coming, what are we going to teach them? What are they going to learn from us? Are we not even going to spoil them because our mindset have not changed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your wonderful study. It's been a blessing.
Okay. Thank you for that, G. I want to add a point that I almost forgot. I don't know if you guys remember the exchange between women's rights activist Caroline Kenneth when she wrote Darwin seeking clarification on his views on women. Darwin said that there seems to me to be a great difficulty from the laws of inheritance, if you understand these laws rightly, in women becoming the intellectual equals of men. Kenneth responded, let the environment of women be similar to that of men, and with his opportunities before she be fairly judged. Intellectually, he's inferior. Yeah, okay, let me repeat that again. She said, let the environment of women be similar to that of men, and with his opportunities before she can be fairly judged. Intellectually, he's inferior. What she's saying is that you cannot judge men and women. You cannot judge them equally because they've never had an equal environment. I know she's only talking about intellect here, but I think if someone is still like not sure why we are studying, why we need to become radical feminists. Radical feminism is the answer to all of the problems that the world is facing. It is the only way to level the playing field between men and women. It is the only answer. That is the only way Hillary Clinton doesn't have to fix her makeup for 2 hours before she faces someone on the opposing end. That's the only way Amber Heard doesn't have to be nice in order for her to be believed. It's the only way for women to be actual on the same wavelength as men. That's why we need to be radical feminists. It levels the playing field, as I was saying. I actually saw arguments from, the national soccer team, the women's soccer team actually did something that the men's team have failed to do in over 26 years. And then people raised the issue of equal pay. Do you know who was fighting back? Who couldn't stand the issue of equal pay between men, when men and women was raised? Obviously men. They were fighting it, and they were saying the women's game is not good enough to attract like sponsors, to attract a larger audiences. I don't know if those people actually saw what happened in Morocco when the game was advertised. When they actually gave women's game a chance, the stadium was always packed. You cannot tell me there's no market for women's football. The South African women's team has never been given an equal. They've not been for all I've known them. They've always had one sponsor, and that's Sasol, and they have been able, with the little that they have been able to do what the men's team has never been able to do. You cannot say women are inferior to men without leveling the playing field. And I'm saying to you guys, we have to be radical feminists because it's the only way to level the playing field, not just in sports, everywhere. In medicine, when it comes to writing, what you guys call these things when you're doing your masters, your thesis, whatever. You don't have to worry about sleeping with the lecture in order to get good marks. Radical feminism gets you there. It's the only way to level the playing ground. So you guys, we need to be radical feminists. As Gracious was saying, if we still worry about feelings, we're hurting people. Like we worry about feelings, we're not going to be radical feminists. We need to level the playing field, guys. If anyone still wants to comment, you may go ahead.
Hi, Kanya.
Yes.
For the study. And to highlight what is happening with influential men, their thought processes and how they're influencing billions of people, not even just millions, but billions. Feminism has failed. And you mentioned the fact that the world is not ready to listen to a woman. The thing is that I agree with that absolutely. I just wanted to add that since sin came into the world has refused to listen to a woman. And since feminism has failed, we know that the world is never going to listen to a woman. Because feminism has failed in the world. God has only this movement. Right now in this meeting, we are 25 people. I do understand that some of the people that have joined in under one name, it might be 2, 3, 4 people. But ultimately, we are less than 100 people as far as South Africa is concerned. Our population is over 50 million. And just 25 of us here. And even among these 25, many of us are still skeptics. Because when a woman is abused, we don't know how to respond. We still ourselves don't know how to respond. Even the victims ourselves, we don't know how to respond. We can't even identify what's happening to us as abuse, let alone those who are doing the abuse, because they themselves have been raised that way. They've internalized the misogyny. So we are dealing with a problem that is 6,000 years old. God is looking upon the 144,000, which is us really, to teach a world of over 5 billion people the truth about gender equality, and the world is refusing and rejecting it. And so, while we are dragging our feet, God is not a God that is restricted by he has tried to work with humanity for the past 6,000 years to work with us. And God is not going to wait for me and wait for any person in this movement who is refusing to acknowledge the sin of sexism, because sexism is a sin. If I am committing it, it is a sin. If I'm doing, it's not the way culture has taken us captive to the point that we don't want to call this sin by its right name, is not going to excuse the sin when we commit it. In the days of our ignorance, God winked at sexism. But now that light has come, it is demanded that each one of us must comply. So when you see victims being handled a certain way, when you see abusers being handled a certain way, this train is already on the move. It is not going to wait for you to decide that now this message is okay for me. It is demanded of us right now to grab this truth and run with it and make sure that the work that God is doing to change the way we think is being done. We must work out our salvation with fear and trembling. God is not going to transform us without our permission. And our permission is demonstrated in the way that we respond when a woman is being abused, the way we respond to her, the way we respond to the abuser. That is what demonstrates where your mind is. That is what demonstrates whether you're working out your salvation with fear and trembling, or you want the system to remain the same and fit in feminism somewhere. As you're saying, Kanya, there is nothing less than radical feminism. And radical feminism is about overturning the entire system, turning it upside down, not working with what is there, but turning the whole thing upside down. That's why if we begin to cooperate with God, as the 25 people, 24 that are attending this meeting, if we begin to embrace and internalize this message, our talking is going to change, our appearance is going to change, our thinking is going to change, our culture is going to change. And we're going to be transformed into the image of Christ, because Christ is now represented in the message of sexism. I know this message is irritating so many people. So many people like, we've had enough. When are we going to hear something different? Well, we are not. This is it. This is the last curse. This is the first curse and the longest running curse that has afflicted humanity. As you know, the line of restoration demands that the first sin be dealt with last. So sexism is the greatest curse that has ever afflicted humanity. It has affected men, it has affected children, it has affected women. Men who themselves have perpetrated sexism have been damaged by it. Yes, so there will be no other message that is pleasing to the mind. It will be sexism. So we jump on the train is already on the move, and it's not going to stop for you to jump on. You must catch up with the train while it's on the move. Otherwise, we're all getting left behind. We need to be honest Christians. In the world, there is just us. In the morning, Rasedi was presenting to say, I don't remember, I cannot paraphrase right exactly, but the idea is that in the world, sexism has failed. In the Adventist church, well, the Adventist church hasn't even begun to grapple with this problem. So, and you're talking about all these left-wing people, like Trevor Noah, all these people that we like, that we think are left-wing people, that are supposed to be talking about the truth. But in the morning, we learned that the left wing has failed too. Feminism has failed, left wing has failed. So what does God have left? It is you and me sitting in this meeting trying to profess we are believers, but when we go home, we continue to practice those abominations of sexism. Even as women, we continue to allow ourselves to be weak, because the world only wants a woman who's either crying, okay, she must be crying, she must be drop dead gorgeous, and she must be quiet. Her mouth must be shut. That is the only woman that the world is ready to listen to. But because Amber Heard was sitting stoically on the chair, not crying, not winching, and she didn't have all her heavy 10 layers of makeup on, and she's accusing a man, How dare you open your mouth? So the woman, the world has never been ready to listen to a woman. It is not going to be ready to listen to a woman. And all that God has left is faithful people who are part of this movement. And therefore, if we want to continue to walk on this journey, we have no choice but to embrace gender equality and quickly align ourselves and start to live in that message like it's a life and it is a life and death issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. I don't know if anyone still wants to make a comment. Anyone still wants to say something? Okay, if not, Nombuso, can you close with prayer for us? Nombuso? Nombuso, are you there?
I can say I'm with other people.
Oh. Okay, okay, I'm just gonna close with prayer. Thank you, God, for giving us time to be together again. Thank you for this program. And we ask you to guide us in what is left of today's program. Amen. Amen.